Today, I'll talk about the movie Accidental Love. It's about a small-town waitress who gets a nail stuck in her head by accident, which makes her act unpredictably and leads her to Washington. Alice works as a waitress in a diner where she roller skates and entertains customers. Her parents come to the diner and tell her that Scott wants to marry her. Scott shows up on a motorcycle, shows Alice his new Bluetooth glasses, and asks her out on a date. Alice agrees. That evening they have dinner at a fancy restaurant. Scott is about to tell Alice he loves her, but a worker interrupts and asks how long they will be. Scott takes out a ring and puts it on Alice's finger, but just then the worker falls down the stairs. Scott takes Alice to the hospital. The doctors find that the nail is deep in her skull and she needs urgent surgery. But Alice has no health insurance, and the doctors refuse to do the surgery. They say it will cost $150,000. Scott can't afford it and asks what will happen if they do nothing. The doctors say Alice might start acting aggressively. Scott decides they need to postpone the wedding. Alice's parents offer to pay for the surgery, but they can't afford the full price. Alice is upset and afraid of losing her mind. Her parents decide to start a fund to raise money for special medical care. Many people come to the party, including those with diseases they can't treat because they don't have insurance. Alice meets Kesson, who has a problem with his butt, and ex-priest Norm, who has a problem with his crotch. Norm feels tension in his pants due to medication. After the party, they count the donations but only get $1,600, which isn't enough. Alice's aunt, who is a veterinarian, offers to do the brain surgery herself. Scott doesn't like the idea, but Alice agrees because she doesn't have other options. During the operation, Alice begins to panic and says nonsensical things. Thinking her brain is leaking out, Scott tries to calm her down and tells her they need to break up, as he doesn't want to marry someone who's losing her sanity. He says if she fixes her brain, he will come back to her, but for now he has to leave. Alice becomes depressed and sometimes acts out. Pastor Norm and Kesson come to support Alice, urging her to remain hopeful. Alice sees a handsome man on TV who helps people and promises to help anyone who comes to him. She believes he is a virtuous person and wants to visit him in Washington. Pastor Norm and Kesson agree to go with her. When they arrive in Washington, they enter the congressional building. Security finds a nail gun on Alice and detains her, but Kesson uses his charm to ask the female security guard out on a date. Alice says she came to see Howard for a consultation, and security lets them in. Kesson decides to stay behind to talk to his new friend, Rakisha. Alice finds Howard's office but is not allowed inside because he is busy talking on the phone with his mom. Meanwhile, P. Hendrickson, a former astronaut now working in Parliament, enters the corridor. A woman comes into Howard's office, instructing him to support her plan to build a military base on the moon. Howard is reluctant but has no choice. The woman's second assistant reveals they have fraudulently enlisted the support of the Girl Scouts by promising them Shakira for their jamboree. Pastor Norm experiences severe discomfort and leaves for the hotel. Alice, undeterred, decides to enter any office and achieve her goals but is kicked out and her bag is torn. Howard meets Alice, and she tells him about her problem and that of her friends. She argues that the law needs to be changed to provide health care for those without insurance. Howard says he would love to help but can't, as he is just a young congressman who only follows orders. Alice is disbelieving and upset by Howard's refusal. She is hit on the head and starts behaving strangely. She approaches Howard and kisses him. They go to the office and start burning calories. Alice admits she doesn't control herself at times, but Howard likes it and decides she can help him with his task. He invites her to appear on TV and support the construction of the lunar base. Alice knows nothing about the lunar base but agrees to speak about it, believing it keeps us safe. Howard promises to help create a new law that will assist sick people. Pastor Norm is amazed at how Alice managed to convince Howard. Alice is barely able to restrain herself from attacking him. Kesson shares that he had a great time with Rakisha, but didn't mention his health issues. In the evening, they attend a conference where Howard meets them. The Girl Scouts are interviewed first, advocating for the moon base construction. Alice follows, standing in front of the camera. She emotionally describes her problem and asks the government to approve the moon base project, making the moon like one of our states. Everyone is delighted with Alice's speech. Howard is especially pleased, seeing Alice as his salvation. They go to a hotel, have a party, and eventually end up alone in a room. Howard shares that he always wanted to help people and wanted to be a ranger as a child, but his mother pushed him into politics. He admits that Alice is the woman he always needed. Alice says that the nail in her head no longer affects her consciousness. They kiss and lie down together. The next morning, Howard sobers up and remembers they are meeting with the Speaker of the House. Alice brings her friends to the meeting and asks the Speaker when he will approve the new health insurance law. The Speaker is confused and says he has never approved such laws. He wants to build a military base on the moon and name it after himself. Alice is puzzled by his refusal. Howard intervenes, suggesting that the small law would improve the Speaker's reputation, but the Speaker still refuses. He praises the Girl Scouts for their cookies, but then the girls learn that Shakira will not come to their jamboree, and threaten to destroy the military base construction company. The Speaker chokes on a cookie, and despite Pastor Norm's attempts to help, the man falls to the floor. The secretary brings defibrillators, but Pam Hendrickson turns them off, pretending to be concerned about her boss. At the funeral, Scott sees Alice on TV and tells his current girlfriend they need to break up because he has fallen in love with Alice again. Pam prepares her speech, pretending to be very sorry for the Speaker and stating that he approved the moon base construction. Alice takes the stage and gives a touching speech about how ordinary citizens cannot afford treatment and suffer. She falls and says she believes in America. The Speaker's widow tells Pam to be quiet. Alice says that the Speaker agreed to the health insurance law because he was a kind person. Her speech creates a sensation, and everyone applauds her. Alice and her friends are happy to have deceived everyone, but Howard realizes that if Pam finds him, she will either kill or fire him. He jumps out of the window, saying he is happy for Alice. Girl Scouts campaign for the new law and the cancellation of the moon base. They even make a fake video of a home surgery. Pam tries to ruin Alice's reputation and people start to argue about it. At one event, Scott asks Alice to come back with him to their hometown. He says he loves her and will find Howard. Scott finds Howard, who is doing a ritual with shamans. Scott helps Howard, telling him a real man does what he wants without needing to prove anything. Howard then says at a rally that he will fight for a new law to help people in need. He tells Alice he loves her and kisses her, but then gets hit in the face. The next day they go to Congress, but it's hard to get the new law approved because Pam is now the Speaker of the House. Howard tries to explain that the health insurance law is more important than the moon base, but Pam interrupts. She brings up Howard's past work on military bases, making it look like Alice is using him. Alice, feeling sick, gives an emotional speech about how ordinary people suffer without treatment. Even though Howard begs, almost everyone votes against the law, and Pam wins. Howard decides to sacrifice himself. Alice is heartbroken, and Kesson is upset because his girlfriend left him after finding out about his illness. Scott suggests they go home, but Alice sees Howard talking with his assistant. Scott says Howard has betrayed them and they should leave. Howard apologizes to Congress, saying he supports the moon base and wants his old job back. Alice realizes Howard has betrayed her and goes to the hotel. She packs her things to leave, but then sees on TV that Howard was fired because the new bill included a health insurance law that will help Alice and her friends. Howard says he loves Alice in an interview and explains he had to pretend to betray her. Alice is thrilled, runs outside, and kisses Howard. Scott isn't too upset because he has another girlfriend. Kesson gets better and decides to marry his girlfriend. Alice and Howard are the best man at the wedding and have a great time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.